All right, y'all, Rickey Smiley Morning Show. The time right now is 26 minutes after the hour, y'all. Today, we are joined by a renowned criminal defense attorney, advocate, and public speaker who has a new book out called Redeeming Justice. Y'all, please welcome Attorney Jarrett Adams. Hey, man, thank you for getting up so early. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, well, look, thank you for having me, man. I was either going to be on today or listening to y'all today, one or the other, okay?
That's what's up.
Yeah, man, God bless you. And, man, let's jump right into it because you was wrongfully convicted and spent 10 years in prison for a crime you did not commit at 17 years old, and you was finally exonerated. But during those 10 years, how did you continue to hold hope and, that you would finally be free?
Yeah, well, thank you again for letting me share my story. But look, I got to tip my cap and give a huge shout out to black women, man, because my mother and my auntie continue to breathe life in me, man, in a dark situation. So I'm sitting up here, I'm locked up. I'm a kid in a super maximum security prison. I'm getting letters from my friends who had all been going off to the HBCUs and colleges, and I'm there and I'm fighting for my life. So one of my aunts who passed away, we called her Sugar. So I'm from the south side of Chicago. So if y'all hear these names and terms we be calling our aunties, it's a shy thing, and I'm sure
we got
other
them
folks
too.
and families too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So my aunt Sugar was an amazing woman, and one of the things that she would do is she would send me the newspaper, and the newspaper would get there late. It would be expensive, and I told her, I'm like, look, just stop sending it. I'll find something else to read. So she says, no, I'm doing this for a reason. We're gonna acknowledge that they got your body confined, but we're never gonna let them incarcerate your mind, your dreams, your hope. You're gonna stay up with the world until you get back in the world.
Wow. That's awesome. You know, them Chicago women ain't no joke, especially them aunties and them older ones. Man, we really appreciate them. My mama, my grandmothers, everybody. We all from Chicago. And I know this may have felt like rock bottom, but looking back on your trial now as a lawyer, is there anything you would have done different to protect yourself? Because I know things are different today. Because when I got locked up, my trial was crazy. And it's a lot of things that I would have changed that went down that I know now that I didn't know before.
I say this oftentimes. I was speaking at the juvenile facility the other day, and I was telling them that I could remember vividly. You know, I could repeat every lyric to the Tupac double CD in 1998, but didn't know not one constitutional right to shut up when you were up in there, right? And so I get this advice to everybody listening. I get this advice to Lil Daryl too, man. Don't go in there in them police stations talking. You know what I mean? Just ask for an attorney. Don't believe that you're gonna be able to outsmart anyone. And I think also in our community, I think that as I was raised, and Brett, maybe you can relate to this as well. So when you raised black families, specifically south side of Chicago, they raise you to respect authorities, respect this and respect that. A lot of times when we have interactions, our kids have interactions with authorities, they're operating off autopilot to respect authorities, to do this and do that. That gets us in trouble. We need to teach our kids the law. And the law is we should ask for an attorney and be represented by an adult or an attorney, and that's how we protect ourselves the most in our
before you start talking.
Absolutely.
That is amazing. Such a powerful story. Let me ask you, what advice would you give to families that are already fighting to prove their loved one's innocence?
Yeah. You know, I get a lot of requests, and we can't represent everyone, right? And so what I would ask folks to do is have family meetings, band together. One of the things that plagued me in my situation was, and I understood my mother for doing this, was it was so embarrassing to talk about what had happened because no one hears past but. They like Jarrett locked up, but, right? But no one hears past that. So my mother kept this inside, and a lot of that she couldn't get help as a result of that. So one of the things that I'm encouraging folks to do is open up, have family meetings, discussing it, everybody band together. The best thing to do is to be able to retain someone, but not everyone is able to afford to do that. But I'm telling you, if we get together, man, I don't care if it's fish fries or car washes, whatever, the lives of our babies are important. And right now, that is the biggest thing that we're dealing with. We're losing. It used to be a lot of just boys. They are locking up women increasingly more and more in our society today.
Now, Jarrett, this stuff happens in our community a lot. I actually have a friend who did 32 years unlawfully.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you, was there ever a formal apology from the state, or did you get compensated for the 10 years that you did spend undeservedly.
So look, a lot of people ask me that question, and I, I do civil rights mainly now, moving away from criminal defense. And civil rights is the chapter where you're able to sue if you can to recover for damages. But a lot of people believe that just because someone is wrongfully convicted, they are immediately entitled to compensation. They are not. Over 90% of the people who get their convictions reversed, they never have a remedy to recover because of things like qualified immunity. A lot of times cases like, Breonna Taylor will bring up the topic qualified immunity, but I'm just going to tell y'all in layman terms what that means. If something happens to you with your interaction with the authority, every loophole imaginable will be explored before you are compensated. Period. It's a loophole. So what I'm saying is that I've never gotten a dime. I've never been compensated at all. I remember when the conviction was reversed and going into the courtroom with a judge, the same judge who sentenced me, had to order the dismissal of the charges and everything. And this is the same courtroom where I'm being paraded around as a rapist and all that type of stuff in front of my mother and my aunt who raised me. And in a matter of 3 minutes, the prosecutor was like, yeah, we're going to dismiss the charges. The judge slammed her gavel, turned around, everybody disappeared, and there wasn't nobody but me and my mother in that room. And when I turned around and I seen them wrinkles and creases of anguish on her forehead, it pissed me off to come and do what I'm doing right now.
Why do wrongful convictions happen more often than people think? Why?
I think number one, there is low-hanging fruit in our criminal justice system that needs to be addressed, and it will help. We need to start doing preventative measures when it comes to this. I think that we need to start, number one, black folks, people of color, period in general, people of like mind in general, man, go to jury duty. Okay, y'all? Because we need y'all to be on that jury pool because y'all understand, why we wouldn't say this or say that in a certain way. While things that can be construed as our language will be damning to other folks who don't come from where we come from, we need black and brown folks to show up for jury duty. That's number one. Number two, we have to find a way to tilt the scales evenly for our public defense systems. 90 or 80% of the society today, they are defended by the public defense system because they can't afford an attorney. So if you have public defenders and public defense systems that are managing 50 to 75 cases at one time, it's going to be many people who slip through the crack.
Right.
Alfred, before you ask your question. Now, attorney, I have a question. Just help me because I don't know how this goes. So now you were wrongfully convicted of a crime. Now, was it a felony?
No, yes, it was a felony.
Because I always thought if you had a felony, they say, hey, you couldn't do nothing. So now you became an attorney after going through all that. So how does that work?
It works because I don't have a record because my conviction was reversed. All the charges were dismissed. But let me say something to you. That's a great question. Although I don't have a record, the charges was dismissed, the tentacles of that wrongful conviction will forever reach me through life.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Forever. Look, let me give you an example. When I was coming in here, I was speaking with my team, and I was just talking about, man, how for me in the early 90s, we would come down to Atlanta and do like family reunions and stuff like that. It was nostalgia, right? You know what I mean? Like you coming down to the HBCU capital of the world, and I was looking forward to partaking in that, right? Didn't get the opportunity to do that. So now, I'm meeting folks and I'm asking folks about how they know this person, that person, what they know them from going to school together. I missed out on that chapter. I'm locked up from 17. I didn't get out until I was 26, turning 27 years old.
Yes, and you pretty much playing catch up. Hey, listen, hold that thought. We're gonna bring you back on the other side, y'all. We're gonna be talking more with attorney Jarrett Adams up next. Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Now he's a defense attorney telling his incredible story in his new book, Redeeming Justice. And let me just ask you, what does redeeming justice really mean to you, and why was now the right time to tell your story?
Yeah. Well, redeeming justice for me is my politically correct way of saying I'm getting my lick back. You know what I mean? And so that's really what that was about, man. I mean, look, I can't tell you that had I not went to prison, that I wouldn't be an attorney, but I can definitely tell you, had I not, went to prison, I still would have been something, right? And so I think that now more than ever, I think that there's a lot of distractions that are keeping us from the main problem we've had since its inception, and that is the criminal legal system. And I think that me writing this book, on the cover of it, there's a picture of my booking photo as I'm 17, and then there's another picture like 12, 13 years later, and I'm an attorney. I would argue this. I think that it is easier, if you can fathom this, to go through what I went through, go out, get a law degree, become a lawyer, than it is to be a number one pick in any sports, right?
Wow.
So
I agree.
I argue that we have a backup plan. And I think that our education is key. There was a reason why, in the days of Jim Crow slavery, they were trying to keep us from reading and access to education, because it is one of the many keys that can open doors and pave a way for our generations to come.
Now, you helped free Terrence Richardson and Ferone Claiborne, who were convicted of killing a white officer back in 1988. It was known as the Waverly Burning. And you helped get them pardoned by President Biden and later on exonerated. How'd you do all of that?
So this was a 10-year journey. And right now, there was President Biden commuted their sentence, but right now their case is still in front of the Virginia Supreme Court to grant their actual innocence. And it's a case that I ask many people to look up. If you just Google Waverly Burning, you'll see the YouTube videos. I'm trying to make this story go from the small town in Waverly to a national story to help these brothers vindicate themselves and clear their name. It was my organization that I created, Life After Justice. It's a nonprofit organization where we have a legal department and where we use resources that are donated to represent people who are claiming actual innocence, but they just can't afford to get representation. So Terrence and Ferron are two men that I met years ago, and I met them through their mother, man. And when I was just telling y'all about them wrinkles and creases of anguish, so I'm doing a speaking event in Virginia, and a lady, was standing in the line of folk coming up to shake my hands, and I spotted her out the crowd because she had a manila envelope in her hand, and she just looked worried.
Her eyes.
Just looked worried. Just reminded me of my mother with the wrinkles over her forehead. She handed me the envelope, and the envelope contained a letter from Terrence and Ferron asking for some help and saying that they were innocent. So took the case, litigated over the years. We were able to get them out. They're now out. But now the focus right now is we got to help provide them with the reintegration tools that they need, and mental health care and therapy is one. There was a segment that just came out on these guys. Like I said, if you go look it up, you'll see a Richmond reporter did a segment on it. And one of the things that Terrence was saying was that every day he got to get up and look in the mirror as a free man with the gray hairs that he didn't have when he went in there.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, this conversation is so necessary. I'm going home and having another conversation with my boys today. Thank you so much for being on the show. But let me ask you, you went from inmate to attorney. When did you realize the law was going to become like your weapon for justice?
So I'm sitting in a super maximum security prison, and I'm a tutor to pass time. I'm an HSED GED tutor. And I'm starting to help folks as I'm sitting in this library. And then what I realized was this. I'm going to tell you a cold reality, man. I was helping this guy with his resentencing. And it was a guy who just got out. And he was back in there for drugs. And I'm reading and I'm like, man, what you keep on selling drugs for? Man looked at me and was like, fool, you think I want to be selling drugs out here? I ain't got no other way. So he started to tell me his family history and story. And then I realized how much of a cycle that it is, and how sometimes we just don't pay attention to it because we're actually living in it. And until it happened to us, we don't really know how to respond to it. So I think that was one of the ways that I believe that my calling was starting to be to start to grow. I mean, I really felt like I was helping. I could help. I felt like that, I was able to articulate, but with the same passion and the same energy as the boy on the south side of Chicago, sitting on the stoop eating an icy cup,
Right. Hey, man, we really appreciate you coming on. Let everybody know how they can follow you on social media, so when you do your lives, people could really, get into some of the things that you have accomplished and things that you're talking about without having to go to commercial break. Let everybody know how you could follow, how they could follow you.
Follow Jarrett Adams Law on literally all social media handles. And some of the videos that I've been putting out, you guys should check them out. It talks about how to expunge your record. It talks about how to obtain a pro bono attorney, because it's hard, man. And look, attorneys got to eat as well too, so not everybody going to be able to take your case pro bono. But let me tell you how they will take your case. If you come prepared with all of your stuff, and you make it easier for folks to review it, more than likely they'll take the time to look at it.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining this morning and sharing your story. Everybody, please give it up for Jarrett Adams. More Rickey Smiley Morning Show coming up.